We're very pleased to have with us today Bill O'Neill. He'll be joining us from his office at the state capitol. In addition to being the author of the new novel, Panoramic Diaries, Bill is also an accomplished poet. He has a book out called Freedom of the Ignored. He has been representing New Mexico since 2008. First in the House of Representatives, and now is a state senator who has recently progressed to the primary this fall. Congratulations, Bill, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Amanda, and thanks for doing the wonderful work of this fantastic bookstore that just so happens to be located in the middle of my legislative district, Bookworks.
Hey.
We love you, Bookworks. Support Bookworks. So shall I just launch into this?
Yes, let's just go ahead.
Okay.
Bill.
Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and let's just get to it. In the way of context, this book is basically two narratives combined in one. To me, it's a celebration of rebellion. The narrator's 33 years old, and he's going through a lot of stuff, work stuff, relationship stuff, etc. And he some people, when they want to get clear on their lives, they go hiking. Chapman Murphy goes to the freight trains. That's kind of his way of sorting out his life. So on his way at the ripe old age of 33 to the freight trains, he picks up his journals from when he was 26 years old, back when he was aggressively riding the freight trains up in Montana and the Northwest. So that's the context for this. So here we go. This is chapter 3, and here we go. The distant engine's light is approaching now, midday and still this heat. For sure, much hotter down here than up north. The approaching train is heading west, so why not climb on this one? I'm feeling that excited hint of the future like I used to up in Montana. This is my familiar realm. There are so many reasons to be out here again. One reason for every state prisoner who came to Hope House, for example. This isn't an overstatement. Each of them wore the evidence of how this world doesn't work for everyone. Their names come back to me as I await the slowly approaching freight train, those beyond the aforementioned original 5, my first all-star household at Hope House. Epi, for example, with his sailor's cap and walkie-talkie, graduating from Hope House to the city streets, and always dapper. Boris, who spoke of the iron cages and regarded his own anger with awe. Swift on the fast break like the Lakota champion he was in high school. Brianna, with her hurriedly sewn-up face, petite with her one eye, before the heroine regained control, chocolate sundae running down her blouse, nodding off in the parole officer's presence, and off to the lab for a urine test. So many to be resurrected, the ghosts of their striving pulling me out of my own grievance and the drama with my board. But the first one, our all-star household, keeps coming back to me. That radiant Saturday afternoon with our raffle tables, ready for the families, bringing in money for our unconventional family, alert for public uneasiness with my increasingly professional trained eye. But I'm on the train now, and it was easily done. My favorite piggyback stopping conveniently within 20 yards of my isolated spot in the city freight yard. It all comes back to me. But I've been warned about catching a freight on the Union Pacific. It's much different from what I experienced up north, I'm told, on the Burlington Northern. Down here, I'm told, they arrest you on the spot. Not an issue this evening, though. The train's gathering speed as I lean up against the tires, a nice shelter from the blustery wind. Honestly, there are so many reasons to be out here again. I feel so at home, creating with Kit, an enclosure to keep the wrong influences out, or at least muted at an adult cost. Late bloomers we were, both of us, living an extended adolescence. She warned me that one night early in our courtship, referring to her troubled childhood and crazy family and that kind of stuff. But did I listen? Of course not. I had a different version of the same thing. And both of us ended up in the same place, estranged. I was the prodigal, the rebel, the one absent from the table. Her family situation was similar. So how could we resist each other? We had some things to work out. Before I left our house, which was not an easy decision by any means, Kit handed me my old journals that she'd fished out from the back closet from our courtship days. I had room in my familiar duffel bag, so I figured why not take them with me? There's certainly plenty of time for reading out here on the freight trains. For example, just thinking about Hope House, you know, I remember how great Lewis looked in his white tennis shoes and jeans when I spotted him on the drug avenue, walking in a hurry, preoccupied, African American, always a sharp dresser. But this particular time after he'd officially relapsed and vanished into the system again. And after my visit with him in one of those motels, where the plan was to bring him back into the universe of rules and sane choices. Before the authorities became involved, as they inevitably did, Lewis kept staring out the window, dazed. Drugs, whatever attention he had left was on an imminent phone call that he was awaiting. Lewis, I said emphatically, you've got to get out of here. It was towards the end of his time with us at Hope House. I know, his voice trailed off. But Chief, she's so sweet. I need to protect her. You can call her from the house. Just give me a few minutes. There's no point, Guy, I continued. Look, you still have your job. You can get that tea you can buy, and you can get back on track. I know, he sounded weary and still largely absent. It's just that the will becomes diminished, and the Lord's assistance has its limitations. Lewis, why are you giving up like this? You've worked hard to get your nursing license reinstated. It's not too late. I need to protect her, Chief. Okay, you're putting me in a bind, I said. It's on you, Guy. The others, at least with my Estes and Cortez, I was never so blatantly in that do-gooder costume. They kept their activity hidden. It'd go in the same general direction, though. My last chance pep talk, noticing how thin they'd become. There was that one stretch where each evening at dinner, the majority of our residents would be slimmer and slimmer, and our volunteers would come in, oh my, how trim everyone looks. That look they had, their eyes and skin, drugs. All of it was previously unknown to me. We had our own small versions of seeking oblivion in Iowa, but not on this level, not with the needles. My Estes and Cortez were a duo, a tandem, and they sometimes mentioned how they'd saved each other, alternating resurrections, ice treatments after too much heroin. All of this was revealed to me later, of course, when being out of the program freed me up to make shop talk possible. Sometimes I could space out on their tattoos, sometimes witness their crying, Cortez especially, remembering the father he'd stabbed to death. My Estes preferred humor, at least when he wasn't agitated about the dark, manipulative forces all around him, out to get him. They both deserved a road trip, I declared, and it was a gift I could give them from my world. But my convertible, my beloved sports car convertible European, had to be fixed first. Lewis, on the other hand, was into me deep, and personally, they all were. I didn't have the best boundaries. Lewis actually convinced me to help him buy that gleaming blue Jeep on the sunlit lot. Chief, he kept saying, I'll pay you back immediately, I promise. Remember, I'm a skilled professional. It does look like it's in great condition. I've been walking past it for days, Lewis continued, to the bus stop. They bring everything together, everything. How much is it? Only 1,200. See that radio? I don't have that kind of money. I know. Just help me with the down payment. I get my first paycheck tomorrow. You have to keep this confidential. You're a good man. Then the retrieval of that once proud vehicle after it had been abandoned on the drug avenue. Melted wires, cellophane, peppermints in bulk, the radio gone. A disturbing smell emanated from under the hood, hinting of fire. Absolutely no sound when I tried to start it. This was later. But before this, when Lewis wasn't officially on the run, I tried to coax him to see his parole officer as scheduled. There we were in my car outside the parole office. What are those police cars doing here? Lewis asked me nervously. They're always here, Lewis. It's parole. Not like that. She probably called them here. You don't know that. I know more about this than you do. Okay, I agreed. All I'm saying is, if you don't go in, then you are in trouble. She has it in for me, he said quietly. Tell her you made a mistake, that you're back on track now. You're okay with our program. You have your job, etc. She won't give me a chance. She's given me one already, at least one. Well, what choice do you have, Lewis? I can go to Colorado. I have friends. The Jeep will get me there. That's a great car. We both nodded, or it was when you got it. I'll pay you back, I promise. Don't worry about that, I answered. This situation is what matters. Maybe I could shift my parole up to there. That's ridiculous. You'll be a fugitive, technical parole violation. I can't go in there. It's up to you. What kind of life would it be in Colorado? Looking over your shoulder, Lewis. I can't go back to prison, Chief. You're not gonna go back. They give you a hearing, you know. Will you come to that? I'll be there, I assured him, but I'm saying it's not necessarily gonna go in that direction. All right, I suppose I should go into that building. That's the spirit. Lewis did walk in, but exited through the other door immediately after I'd left. We missed him around the dinner table, especially when it came to saying grace for the benefit of our volunteers. He'd go on, and other residents might roll their eyes, but our elderly company loved it, and they loved Lewis. These situations had their similarities, undeniably, like when Cortez and the Methadone clinic, like with that situation, Cortez, methadone, early mornings, medical personnel behind the bulletproof glass, the beaten down waiting room, an aroma of disinfectant, a positive spin by the nurses, and the puzzling rose-colored liquid in question. I was there in my suit, searching for anything similar in my background, but coming up with nothing, blank. Does this stuff work? I asked Cortez, who was visibly pale and shaking. Not really, man. I always had trouble keeping my attention away from one of the more suggestive tattoos on his forearm. But it helps with the craving, he continued. I'm okay if I use a little on top of that. But doesn't that defeat the purpose? I asked innocently. He laughed and then replied in a quiet voice, this shit makes my bones ache. You know it eats your bones? You mean literally? Yeah. And these assholes here piss me off. Why? They seem nice. They only give you enough for one day each time you sign these fucking forms. Well, there's a reason for that. I hate this place, he replied, looking around. Maybe I can get clean again and stay out of here. Look, Cortez, these are choices that you have made. The nurses behind the glass are not the reason you're here. I don't think they're real nurses. How come they aren't wearing caps and shit? I don't know what they are, I said, but I'm sure they're licensed medical professionals of some kind. I hate this place. Then stop fucking using. Easy for you to say, Ivy Leaguer and shit. This isn't about me. It's about the kind of life you could have. You know you can have it. You can. I had that stretch at Hope House. I remember, I answered. That's why I'm here with you, dummy. Even if you're out of the house now, you were doing so well. It's just hard to stay away from the heroin. It creeps up on you. You have so many skills that other residents don't possess, I said. You must have learned a lot from your father. Oh, I shouldn't have mentioned his father. Or someone else, I said quickly. My uncle taught me how to do upholstery. My dad was real good with cars. That's what I'm saying. You have marketable skills. People like you, Mr. Diaz would hire you back in a second. It's not so easy. I'm not saying it is. I said, just try to get back on track and good things will happen. You're off parole now. You're doing this on your own. We can take that trip you keep talking about, he said, brightening slightly. Damn right. We just need to find your buddy Maestas, get him back on track also. I'm not hearing good things about him. No matter, he's like you, but minus the vocational skills, but he's a hard worker. And we'll go to Montana and shit? Exactly. But you need to fix my car first, right? Like how you told me, but not too low rider, okay? Not the too low rider thing. You wait and see, you won't believe it's the same car. Well, restrain yourself there, okay? I like my sports car look. No worries, Chapman, I'll take care of you. You can have a great life. Trust me on that. It's just this methadone, he said, surveying his grim surroundings. It eats your bones and shit. So the book progresses, more freight trains, more entries from the journal of 7 years previous, and Chapman Murphy is examining his life, seeing how he's changed in the 7 years for the positive. So this is later on in this novel, and so we'll get back to it. It was a low bar perhaps, but I flinched when Callahan appeared in my father's donated khaki suit on Sunday morning, ready to sell tickets. There he was with his cigarettes and card deck and thin frame, alert after sleeping it off in the woods again, we suspected, watching me from a distance, his countenance impossible to read. That's what 25 years in prison will do. You forgot your coat, he said softly with that southern drawl, handing it to me, and your keys. His years of observing silently in the various institutional yards, the high art of not being deciphered. Callahan. He was always there, making sure things in the house didn't get crazy. We deputized him almost immediately. His wiry presence and continual cigarette. I couldn't bring myself to read his file, but at some point there was no need, as I was in charge of simply getting the money for Hope House. I got the gist from the others. In many states, he would have warranted the electric chair, but he was released to us under what we call geriatric parole. Suffice it to say that in his youth, he was a jealous Irishman just released from his service in Korea, and his rage extended beyond the object of his affection to her immediate family, unfortunately. But the Callahan that I came to know was not the Callahan of his crime. Come Sundays, he was with me, always, though he'd never actually go inside the church, as I went about the task of explaining Hope House to the assembled churchgoers. I'm not big on religion, he'd tell me with that southern South Carolina twang. But you go on ahead. I'll make sure the tables are in the right place, and we'll be waiting for the folks when they come out. We had some very financially rewarding weekends together, Callahan and I, all of the services, including Saturdays, and I considered him staff as he slowly counted the money and neatly arranged the raffle stubs ever so perfectly. But back to where I am now on this train, it's different down here. I know the routes in the Northwest well, the best yards to couch out from, but there's a security presence down here. It's a different matter down here, because you don't still know where the security will be. I know that this train is headed to California. I can figure that out because we're going west, but I have no idea where the crews change or what town comes after Flagstaff. What might await me there in the yard? I've been told repeatedly that they arrest you on the spot, unlike up north where it's understood that hobos built the West. And as a rule, the urban yards are somewhat menacing, in vivid contrast to the sleepy rural yards in Montana. There was always that strange unity that I felt with the Hope House folks with our residents. We gathered during the dinner hour at the table, and their stories were made starker, of course, by their vivid tattoos, even though we warned them, we suggested that they wear long sleeve shirts. But we respected their decisions, of course, as staff. On a good day, we could take on anything or anyone. The uncertain energies vanquished. On a good day, there was this sense of unlimited ability to assemble a life. I would dare anyone to accompany me to the bus station where we'd pick up our innocents in their prison blues. I received nourishment from not only their sincerity, but also their uneven efforts. And how was I supposed to go back unchanged into my former world? That I could lose myself in our shared triumphs of won jobs and perfect attendance at the parole office, and yet in their lives of lost connections, when things went wrong, they went wrong. But not on a good day. No, on a good day, we have Ernestine just getting off work. You know, Ernestine sighed with her lunch pail and new boots. It's hard work as she got into my idling car. Damn. But the job's working out, right? Yeah, she replied distantly. They're good people, my bosses. That's a snappy uniform you have on. You mean this shirt, she said, pointing? It's red, isn't it? Yes, it is. Seriously red, she laughed, which for Ernestine was extremely rare. It looks nice, I replied. I guess it's all right. So what kind of crazy can we expect when I come home tonight? Look, you've just got to give my Estes a chance, I answered, pausing. He's younger than you, and with his issues, we all got issues, she said impatiently. We're convicts. No offense. None taken. I just need to relax when I get home. I don't need to deal with a lot of crazy. That kid, he's got no respect. Can't you at least look at him? You two make for tension in our household. No, she protested. I just need to be left alone. Is that unreasonable to not want anybody in my face? That's fine. Just remember we're a community, you know? Like what we talked about in your interview inside the walls. Remember what we talked about back there when you were in prison? That must have been a trip for you, eh? She answered, smiling. Coming into our world with your questions. Most people wouldn't bother. It's my job. But you could be doing something else. Smart people gave up on us a long time ago. Have you read my file? She looked at me with curiosity. Of course I did. It's part of my job, obviously. Well, it's not so bad. I just needed money, and I get mad. You have issues. That's right, Ernestine laughed. I have issues. I've noticed. You should have seen me a couple years back. Shit. You're doing well right now, though, Ernestine. That's what matters. She paused. It's nice of you to pick me up and drive me back from work. I told my girlfriend back inside. She'd like to meet you. That would be fine. When does she get out? Not for a long time. Are you going to a meeting tonight? I probably should. I'm just tired. We pulled into the driveway. Home. My Estes emerged from the house and didn't acknowledge us. Little punk, Ernestine said between her teeth. It's okay. Just don't let it get to you. You know it shouldn't be so hard to stay sober in a program like this. You mean it's on that level? I try not to show my hurt. Stuff goes on here you don't know about. Maybe I know more than you think, I replied, trying not to be defensive. Whatever, I know you do your best. Not bad coming into our world like you do. Come on now. I mean, I know some things. I mean, I got arrested once as a kid, 14 and intoxicated after curfew. Yeah, she said teasingly. I could see you doing that. You remind me of somebody I knew, this white kid. Back in Dulce? No, later than that. Anyway, just try to make this work, okay? She was silent for a moment. All right. So, thank you so much, Amanda, and everyone tuning in. That's a sample of this wonderful book called Panoramic Diaries.